Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at just three more examples. Will help you to make sure that you understand all the possibilities when it comes to constructing arguments by the time you get to 1C. So let's go ahead and look at this example right here. So here you can see that this is an example of a correct response for a definite position. And I'm going to show you something different, something that's possible and something that might be the case. Again, it's not the, I don't want you to think of this one as you have to follow this particular, use this as a template, but I want you to see what is possible. Okay, so we have, we should not reopen elementary schools for on-campus learning. So of course that is a statement. Since the coronavirus is easily spread. So the coronavirus is easily spread is another statement. Children at the elementary level of education are not disciplined or mature enough to follow all of the guidelines associated with stopping or slowing the spread of the virus. So another statement. Hence, it does not seem realistic to think that they will do what is necessary to keep the virus from exploding on campus. So, like I stated in my main conclusion, we should reopen the elementary school. So this is statement 4, this is statement 5. Notice I could have put the opening bracket here, and I could have put an opening bracket here, and I could have put this opening bracket over here. I'll talk more about, the why of where we place statement brackets in a future learning assignment. Remember that I'm just bracketing and numbering to call your attention to where the actual statements are or the core aspects of the statements. Okay, so with that said, let's go ahead and see what's going on. So of course, this is a conclusion. Notice how I've left a little bit of space out because for all I know, this might be, it might be the only conclusion, or maybe it's a main conclusion. Maybe there's another conclusion in there that is used to support this conclusion. So, and oh, by the way, I need to be very careful. When I say a conclusion supports another conclusion, I shouldn't really say that. I should say that there is a statement that is a premise in support of a conclusion, and then that conclusion is used as a premise itself in support of a conclusion. All right, so let's go ahead, and we'll get more into that later. We have a whole lesson on arguments that have a main conclusion and a minor conclusion, and I'll definitely break things down. I'm just giving you the heads up. You don't really need to know that really precisely for this argument. I mean, for this assignment. All right, so since is typically a premise, a reason indicator, so this is definitely a reason. I think I'm just going to start, if I haven't already done so, R means reason, C means conclusion. So statement 2 is being given in support of statement 1. The coronavirus is easily spread. The conclusion is we should not reopen elementary schools for on-campus learning, but the person is not done giving their reasoning. They add another reason in support of their conclusion. So this turns out to be a reason as well. They're not disciplined or mature enough to follow the guidelines. And then you see this word right here. Hence typically functions as a conclusion indicator. Now sometimes what people do is they restate their conclusion towards the end or the middle just to remind people of what they're arguing for. But if we look at this statement 4, it does not repeat statement 1 verbatim much, and it doesn't merely paraphrase statement 1. So it's not just the first statement, the conclusion repeated in some way. It's actually another conclusion. So hence typically tells you that a conclusion is coming. So notice that it's saying it's not realistic to think that they will do what is necessary. And really the core aspect of the statement here, if I was going to redo this, I would say they will not do what is necessary to keep the virus from exploding on their campuses. I would have put the opening bracket here because this is where the core of the statement really is. But again, we'll get into that later. Don't like the way that froze. I'm going to keep my eye on that. All right, so this conclusion then, this is a minor conclusion. So I'm going to use minor to mean, M-I-N to mean minor conclusion at this point in the lesson. So statement 4 is a minor conclusion. The statement that is definitely directly supporting statement 4 is statement 3. And while statement 2 is definitely given in support of conclusion, it's really indirectly. Statement 2 is being used with statement 3 to support statement 4, a minor conclusion. So of course that means that this is a main conclusion. So this is the main point that the writer is arguing for, And while these two reasons do give support for one, they directly give support for statement 4, and then it's the writer's belief that statement 4 as a minor conclusion supported by statements 2 and 3 is supporting statement 1. All right, so we've got that. Do I need to label anything else just to make a point? So you've got this minor conclusion right here. So like I stated in my main conclusion. So notice what they say, like I've already stated, and they even already tell you right here what in my main conclusion. So here the writer knows that they're arguing first for a minor conclusion, and then they're using that minor conclusion as a premise, as a reason to support what they said in statement 1. And that's exactly what they're saying here. So what they're doing is they're repeating what they said in statement 1. So we would say that this is the main conclusion repeated. Now, what you do not want to do is have a paragraph full of merely repeated statements, of course, but it is pretty cool if you want to do what this person did here. So they tell you what their conclusion is. They end up providing reasons in support of a minor conclusion so that they can use a minor conclusion as a reason in support of their main conclusion. And at the end, they remind you, the reader, what it was, the main point, the main conclusion that they were arguing for. They remind you of why they were even bringing up statements 2, 3, and 4 by reminding you of what the main conclusion is. And this is very nice, rhetorically speaking. This is a nice way to wrap up a bow, to wrap up your argument with a little bow, is you can restate your main conclusion, or if you only have one conclusion, you can restate statement 1 in different words, just to remind your reader of what everything was supposed to be focused on in terms of support. You don't have to do that, but if you do that, just keep in mind that that is what you have done. All right, so do I want to make any more lecture points? Well, just to give you some visuals to help you visually process what's going on is, if I'm going to actually present to you something called a pattern, which might help you. So here we got a main conclusion, right? And that was followed by a reason, another reason, and then a minor conclusion, right? And then they did the main conclusion repeated. So that's how these statements actually occur in the paragraph, okay? But as it turns out, while these two reasons do indirectly support the main conclusion, they are used primarily to support the minor conclusion. So this is statement 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then what's going on is the writer is saying, hey, I've established statement 4 as a minor conclusion. So then what they're saying is this also functions then, since I've established statement 4 via statements 2 and 3, I'm now going to use statement 4 as a reason in support of the main conclusion, right? Which they repeated from over here. So I'm just showing you a visual of what's going on with the structure of their logic. Another way, now, that's the actual ordering of the logic. Now, if you want to just understand in terms of support, we could do a diagram. So we could say S1, no, not S1, we would say S2, a reason, is given, and it works together with S3, another reason, right? And those both work together to support S4, the minor conclusion. And then S4 is used as a reason. So first it's used, S4 is first, no, not first. I need to get away from that. I should not say first. S2 and S3 function to support S4. And because the writer believes they have established S4, they think that S4, which is at some point in the argument a minor conclusion, can also, I need to stop using temporal language and sequencing language, can also be used or also functions as a reason to support what? S1, the main conclusion. And of course, this is S4, S5 repeats S1. So this is just a visual to show you what the actual logic of the argument is in terms of how each statement supports another statement. This does this as well, but it shows you how the writer does it in terms of what order. When do they do what? The sequence. They give the main conclusion first. Then they give two reasons in support of a minor conclusion. Once the minor conclusion is established in statement 4, they restate the main conclusion. Why? To emphasize that this minor conclusion is able to also function as a reason in support of the main conclusion. So that's the order in which it occurs. What the diagram does is shows you the actual objective structure of the argument. S2 plus S3 function together as reasons in support of S4, a minor conclusion, which also functions because they think that S4 is established, right, by S1 and S2, S2 and S3 functions as a reason in support of S1, which we are reminded of via S5. Okay, so this is also a possibility, as you can see here. Another way to visually present this is to say that S2, a reason, and S3, a reason, support S4, a minor conclusion. And then S4, not and then, but S4 functions because it is believed that it is supported by S2 and S3 to support S1, the main conclusion. And again, that's repeated in S5. So I don't think I did an argument diagram for the other arguments. Don't worry about that. I did an argument diagram for this one, and I did this here for this one because this argument is a little bit more complex because it does have a minor conclusion and it does restate the main conclusion. So I thought these visuals would help you. All right, so we've got 2 more examples to go. Hang in there with me. These last 2 examples are going to be really helpful in the event or in the case that when you're working through component 1C of task 1, you cannot make up your mind. So I'm going to show you basically what are templates that you can use, good examples to use for when you can't make up your mind, and it's going to follow the options that I give you in component 1C. So let's take good notes because you might need to really draw from this example. Okay, so correct response for someone not able to take a definite position. Okay, so here we go. If you want to practice numbering and bracketing statements so you can check your understanding of how we're using the statement in the class, you could pause the video. Otherwise, just follow along with me. All right, so it is not rational for me to take a definitive stance on whether we should reopen elementary schools for on-campus learning. That's statement 1. On the other hand, this should actually say on the one hand. On the one hand, I am tempted to conclude that we should. Okay, so this is a statement. We should, in other words, we should what? We should reopen schools, reopen elementary schools for on-campus learning. That is what is meant by we should do that, right? I could have put the opening bracket here, but this is really the core of the statement, though it's severely paraphrased, which is fine. Because, and then we've got children best develop their interpersonal skills in a social setting away from their parents. So that's statement 3. This should say, on the other hand, wow. Okay, so see, even these little things can get by me, and I worked on this for like hours, 3 or 4 hours, and I probably did 3 or 4 drafts, and something still got by me. On the other hand, I am tempted to conclude that we should not reopen elementary schools. So again, I'm going to put the opening bracket here because that's the core of the statement. This one paraphrases a version of what is stated up here, and it says, it denies that we should do this. It has a little bit more detail from the main conclusion, and that is we should not reopen. This could have just said we should not, but they say we should not reopen elementary schools. This could have said we should reopen elementary schools. So that's statement 3. So as you can see, they're giving the other side here. And they've got because children of that age are not mature or disciplined enough to follow safety protocols. So that's statement 4. Both of these viewpoints are logical, making it hard for me to decide. So that's one statement right there. So as you can see, this argument has 5 statements. Okay, so this is what you would do. This is the kind of argument you construct if you can't make up your mind because you can see more than one side. And so what you'll want to do is you're going to start off by talking about why it is not rational for you to take a definite position. Okay, so what do we mean by the term rational? So in philosophy, well, let me put it this way. Something that is a core value of philosophy is rationality. And so when philosophers decide that they're going to affirm a belief or say that their belief is true or plausible, or say that they agree with a belief, okay? What they're saying is they have logical reasons, right, or reasons that make them believe that their belief, their idea, their view, their claim is true or at least plausible. That means that if a philosopher does not have enough compelling reasons to believe something, to affirm a belief, right, to say that a statement is true, then they will not say that it is true. In other words, they don't have enough reasoning to convince them of what to believe. So sometimes what will happen is in philosophy, or at least what will happen in how a philosopher would respond, is they would say, well, there's really good logic on this side. I see the reasons in support of the conclusion on this side. Let's call it side A. But I also see really good logic and reasoning on this other side for the opposing conclusion. So I'm looking at this debate. There are two sides with opposing conclusions. Each side provides compelling reasoning, good logic for their opposing conclusions. Well, if both sides give me compelling reasoning, logic in support of their own conclusions which contradict each other, then reasoning itself is not enough for me at this point in my thinking through this topic. It is the reasoning itself is not enough for me to decide what to believe. Since I prize rationality and using reason to decide what to believe as true or compelling, I'm not able to take a definite position. Okay, so for extra credit, if I haven't asked, I'm redoing this video, so I'm hoping I'm not repeating myself, and I'm hoping that I'm providing new information that I haven't covered so far. For extra credit, at the end of your assignment, you could tell me what did I say in this part of the lecture that philosophers highly value? What word did I emphasize as really important from the first statement? There's a word that I really focused on. What is that word that I said that is a core value of philosophers? And then write one or two sentences with respect to what did I say about rationality, philosophy, and deciding what to believe or affirm as true or plausible. Use quotation marks if you want to cite me, but at least one sentence should paraphrase, okay? All right, so now let's continue on with the lesson. This example and the other example will take a little bit longer, but I need to make sure that you are equipped with the understanding you need should you decide that you can't make up your mind based on seeing the logic for opposing sides with respect to a topic. Okay, so this turns out to be the main conclusion. All right, and then what they're doing here, the main conclusion is that it's not, that it's not rational for them to decide. So then what they do is right here with statements 2 and 3, oh, and I see I repeated this. This should be 4, 5, 6. So statements 2 and 3 provide side A, right? And they give a reason. S2 is a reason. Is it a reason? No, it's a conclusion, right? They say, on the one hand, I am tempted to conclude. So S2 is, we're going to say, a minor conclusion, right? Is given, do I want to do it like this or like this? Well, let's just do it like this. S2, a minor conclusion, is given in support of what? S3, which is a reason. So S3 is a reason for thinking that S2 is true. Then, so we'll call that side A. Then you can see, they say, on the other hand, right? So as opposed to this, contra this, I am tempted to conclude that. So now we're getting side B, right? So they offer S4 as another minor conclusion, right, which opposes S2. And in support of S4, they offer statement S5, a reason. So we said that S2 is a minor conclusion. And then we said that S4 is a minor conclusion. S5, that's 5, is a reason. Okay, so do you see how they're saying here's a conclusion for side A, and here's at least one reason in support of it. In other words, here's the logic I see for believing what is stated in S2. And then they say, but here's the other side. And they also can give reasons for coming to their conclusion, right? And of course, the problem is that these conclusions contradict each other, but they both have compelling logic in theory. All right, so then they say both of these viewpoints are logical, making it hard to decide. So this is also a reason. So they're saying, well, now that I'm looking at this, right, they're both logical. They both have reasons in support of their conclusions. It makes it hard for me to decide. Reason itself is not enough. So this is another reason right here. So if we were to do the order of this argument, it's basically a main conclusion. Then we've got a minor conclusion. Then we've got a reason. Then we've got a minor conclusion. Then we've got a reason and another reason. All right, so this is the actual ordering. So this is S1, that it's not rational to take a position. Then you've got S2, which is for side A, right? The conclusion for side A. And then you've got S3, which gives you a reason for believing the minor conclusion in S2 for side A. Then you get the other side. So this is S4. This is side B. And a reason via S5 is given in support of that minor conclusion. And then this reason, what it's doing is it's capturing what has happened in here. And so while, you could just have this in support of this by itself with this is not valid. Adding this statement about the meaning or significance of this, of drawing a definite conclusion, helps to make the argument valid. So it's good to have some kind of sentence that says something about what is this showing relative to it being rational to draw a definite conclusion. And think back to what I said about rationality. Just another visual. So this is the actual ordering in the paragraph, but to just show you the actual logic, they basically have S2, a reason in support of. Arrow down means in support of. Extra credit, if I haven't already asked you, in an argument diagram, if I do an arrow down, the meaning of arrow, the downward arrow is in support of. And I'm showing you the relationship between a reason and a conclusion. So what did I say the downward arrow means, and what am I trying to show you with that? So we've got that's S2, S3, a reason is given in terms of S2, the minor conclusion, a minor conclusion, so side A, side B is S5, a reason given in support of S4, a minor conclusion, right? And again, these oppose each other, right? And then based on, then as a result, they're saying, hey, I have this conclusion, side A, and it's the opposite of this conclusion for side B. So then they're saying, well, when I look at both of these, I understand that I have to add in, oh wait, that's not supporting, or logical, making it hard for me to decide. So then they add another premise, S6, or reason. As you'll learn, another word for reason is premise. That's why you sometimes hear me saying that. So then all of this is used to support S1, the main conclusion, that it's not rational for them to take a definite position based on there's good reasoning for this conclusion, good reasoning for the opposing conclusion, all of this combined with this. So then they talk about how they make this claim relative to this, and then they support that. So again, this is just visual stuff, right? The main thing is to offer reasons in support of your conclusion as to why it would not be rational to take a definite position. If you're doing opposing sides, this is a great template to use. The main conclusion, about it not being rational, then tell me you're going to offer a conclusion for one side, give at least one reason for that conclusion, then tell me you're going to switch to the other side of the debate, like explicitly. Tell me what the opposing conclusion is. Give me at least one reason for that one. And then you would tell me what the meaning is of being able to give a logic for both sides and coming to a definite position. All right, so let's go ahead and look at this last example. And then we'll be done with the primer and argument construction. And like I said, I've been mentioning some things, referring to some things. We will get into some of the other stuff in detail, like main conclusions and minor conclusions later in Unit 1. I'm just bringing it up as necessary. Right now you're focusing on being able to support or defend a conclusion. All right, so here's another example of a correct response for someone not able to take a definite position. This one's going to be based on not having enough information. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. It is not rational for me to decide whether we should reopen elementary schools for on-campus learning. Statement 2, I need more information. Statement 3, I need to know what safety protocols would be in place. Statement 4, I would need to speak to school administrators. Statement 5, I would also need to know whether the safety protocols are sufficient for keeping children from getting and spreading the virus. Statement 6, I would need to speak to health professionals. Statement 7, I would also like to know whether children can handle another semester of learning from home in front of a computer. Statement 8, I would need to speak to a psychologist. Statement 9, I have not spoken to any of these people. There's actually 2 statements in this sentence. It's a little bit hard to see. Statement 10, I don't have the information I need to rationally draw a conclusion. Statement 11, this information is important given the well-being of children is the overall concern here. Whoa, this is a much longer argument. As you can see, when it's not rational for you to take a definite position, you have to offer more support for that. All right, so I'm going to show you how there's a template in here that you can use if you cannot make up your mind based on insufficient information. You don't have enough information to rationally come to a definite conclusion. So first, let's go ahead and label the statements. So this is, by the way, I already know this because I constructed this example. This is going to be a main conclusion. Okay? So everything else is being offered in support of statement 1. Now, notice the word because. I need more information. That's a reason. So remember, because typically tells us that a reason is coming. I need to know what safety protocols would be in place. So they're saying, here's some information that I need. So let me give you a reason. What kind of information do I need? Notice the word so here. So is a conclusion indicator typically. Now, so and words like so and because don't always tell you that a reason is coming in the case of because or that a conclusion is coming in the case of so, but they often do. And we'll learn more about that, I think, around later in the semester. Let me just put it that way because this is for 16 and 8-week sections. All right, so we've got a reason here, but this does function to tell us that a conclusion is coming. It's a minor conclusion, okay? So this minor conclusion is being given in support of statement 3. Then we've got, I also would need to know whether safety protocols. So now they're telling us about some more information they need. So they're giving us another reason here. And then we see another conclusion indicator. So S5 is being given in support of S6, so they're drawing another minor conclusion. Then we've got, I would also like to know, so they're telling us, they're giving us more reasoning. Hey, here's some more information that I need. But again, and then again, they're drawing a conclusion about where they would need to get that information. They're arguing that they need to consult a certain source, so that's another minor conclusion. Okay. Then they say, I don't have the information I need to rationally draw a conclusion, so that's a reason. This information is important given the well-being of children is the overall concern here, so that's another reason. All right, so this is what I would call and what we will learn about as a complex argument. Let's go ahead to help you understand what's going on, the actual ordering of the logic. So they've got a main conclusion. I'm going to put it down here. So they've got a main conclusion, okay, for S1. And then that is followed by, and notice that I'm using dashes, not arrows. That will be really important later on. Okay, so that is followed by a reason, S2, which is followed by a minor conclusion, which is S3, which is followed by another reason, S5, which is followed by another minor conclusion, S6, which is followed by another reason, S7, which is followed by another minor conclusion, S8, which is followed by another reason, S9, and now I realized that I mislabeled this. Look at this. Since typically tells us a reason is coming. So I didn't label this. That's a reason. Since I have not spoken to any of these people, turns out that this is actually another minor conclusion. And you'll learn how to look at arguments and break them up, their statements and the sentences when they have more than one statement in them, and to how to identify whether both statements, what each statement is functioning as, if anything, in an argument. So using the knowledge that you will get, that I currently have, I know that statement 9 is a reason that is being given in support of statement 10, meaning 10 is actually a minor conclusion. And then they've got, I don't have the information, and then S11 is actually functioning, then we've got another reason, and that's S11. So that's the actual ordering of the argument. There's nothing wrong with it. It's great. It's very logical. This is a very logical argument. It's so easy to follow. It's compelling. There's no irrelevant statements, no fluffy contextual information. It's everything that comes after S1 is working in some way to support S1. It's either working indirectly as statements that function only as reasons, S2, S5, S7, S9 work indirectly to support S1, and then you've got S11 directly working with the minor conclusions to support S1. So now, if we were to do a diagram, it would be pretty complex. We would basically have S2, a reason, is being given in support of S3, a minor conclusion. This is joined together with let me keep track of this. S2 plus S3. S5, a reason, is given in support of S6, a minor conclusion. And then you've got S8, is it S8? No, S7, a reason, is given in support of S8, a minor conclusion. Okay, so you've definitely got all of these. So all of these are about information that they don't have. Plus, just for now, means that all of these minor conclusions are working together. Okay, so for extra credit, what does the plus sign mean in an argument diagram? All right, it just means that some statements are working together. Sometimes you have reasons that are working together by themselves in support of a common conclusion, or you could say that minor statements that are minor conclusions are working together in support of some other conclusion, another minor conclusion or a main conclusion. So then they bring in so I've got S8, so then they bring in S9, a reason, okay? And then all of this functions to support S10, a minor conclusion. Then they bring in S11, another reason, which is then used to support S1, the main conclusion. Look, don't get too caught up, okay? You're not doing any of this for component 1C. You're not giving me any diagrams. You're not giving me the sequences. You're just giving me the paragraphs. I'm just providing to you extra visuals to help you understand the nature of an argument and how reasons can be offered in support of a conclusion. So that's the main thing to keep in mind, that you can argue for some of the statements within a paragraph in support of the first statement. So it's almost like you're arguing in steps. Like you first want to establish that certain things are the case, and then once you've established that those certain things are the case, you can then say, okay, now that I've established all these things via reasoning, now let me use what I've established itself as a reason. So what happens here is that, for example, this S10 is a minor conclusion, and the author thinks that all of this supports S10. Now they're going to use it along with S11 as support for S1. But we'll get more into that later. It's just a visual. If you want to, you can completely ignore this part, but I know that it's probably helping some of you. All right, so in effect, one other thing that I want to point out to you with what's going on here that can help you is that in effect, like at least insofar as S3 through S8 are concerned, they basically, here's a specific piece of information I need, and then they draw a conclusion about where would they go to get that information. So you can really use this as a good example, as a template, if you decide to construct this kind of response based on your not being able to take a definite position because you're missing information.